Chosen one, stop everything you are doing right now. This message has been blocked not once, not twice, but 7 times in the last 4 days before it reached you. Not by technology, not by timing, but by a spiritual force that knew exactly what this message was going to do to its plans for you this Sunday. And yet, here you are. The Holy Spirit tore through every barrier to place these words in your hands at this exact moment. Do not let what you are about to hear pass through you without landing. Something is unfolding this Sunday, something the enemy calculated long before you woke up this morning. And the horror, the real horror, is not what God is about to do. The horror belongs to the enemy. Because what God is about to release on Sunday is so enormous, so irreversible, that the forces working against you have already begun their final, most desperate strategy to stop you before it arrives. You are receiving this message because you were meant to receive it. There is no such thing as accidentally finding something that carries this level of precision for your life. Every word you are about to hear was prepared before you knew you needed to hear it. The divine appointment is already confirmed. What you do with these next moments will determine everything. You are exactly 7 days away from either the most significant spiritual breakthrough of your life or the most strategically engineered collapse the enemy has ever attempted against you. 7 days. And it all depends on what you do, what you believe, and what you refuse to allow in the hours before Sunday arrives. This is not fear. This is not manipulation. This is the clearest truth the Spirit of God has pressed upon my heart for you. 7 days from right now, one of 2 realities will have already begun to take root. Either the thing God has been quietly building in you for years will finally break through the surface and become visible, or the enemy will have succeeded in making you abandon your position one step before the door opens. 7 days. And you are watching this message today because God decided you would not be blindsided. The stakes are not small. The stakes are not moderate. When I say breakthrough, I mean the kind that rearranges your life. The kind that people around you will not be able to explain. The kind that you will look back on years from now and say, that Sunday was the turning point. And when I say collapse, I do not mean a small setback. I mean the calculated demolition of the very thing God has been holding in reserve for you. The enemy does not play small games against people who carry what you carry. God just said 3 words. Not suggested, not whispered softly. Commanded, with the kind of authority that moves mountains and parts waters. 3 words, spoken directly into the spirit realm over your life before Sunday arrives. Stand. Still. Watch. Those are the 3 commands. And they will be the difference between everything. Not stand still and give up. Not stand still and disappear. Stand still and watch. Because what God is about to do this Sunday does not require your striving, it requires your positioning. And the enemy has one mission between now and then, one single mission, which is to make you abandon your position. And hear the tone behind those 3 words. It was not frustration at you. It was not disappointment in you. It was not rebuke directed toward you. It was fury, a righteous and protective fury, aimed at everything that has been working against you. The tone was the sound of a father who has watched his child be pushed and pressed and nearly broken for too long, and who is now saying, with everything that he is, enough, not enough of you, enough of what has been done to you. That is the tone, protective, fierce, absolutely certain of your outcome. When God says, stand still, He is not asking you to be passive. He is asking you to trust that He has already moved, that the answer you have been praying for is already in motion. That Sunday is not a maybe. Sunday is already written, and the only variable is whether you will still be standing in your place when it arrives. The enemy has been watching you. Every moment of doubt you spoke out loud in the past 6 months has been intercepted, recorded, and archived. Every prayer that felt unanswered, every morning you woke up and asked God why nothing has changed yet. Every quiet conversation with yourself about whether this calling is real, whether the promises you have been holding are actually for you, whether you have been fooling yourself all along. Every single one of those moments has been catalogued. Every time you pulled back from your purpose, every time you let the exhaustion win, every time you scrolled through someone else's life and wondered why their breakthrough came and yours has not. Every subtle retreat you made from the person God made you to be, it has all been weaponized. The enemy did not need to destroy you directly. He had a better plan. He built a psychological timeline of your pattern. He mapped the exact combination of circumstances that makes you most likely to walk away. He knows when your faith thins. He knows when the silence feels like abandonment. He knows which voices make you question your worth. And he has been strategically manufacturing the perfect storm designed to hit you in the days before the biggest release of your life. According to the enemy calculation, you were supposed to break 4 days from now, not this Sunday itself. 4 days before Sunday, because the enemy understands something that most people do not, which is that the real battle is never on the day of breakthrough. It is in the days leading up to it. The scheduled blow is already built. The circumstances have already been arranged. The spiritual pressure has already been dialed up to the precise level that, based on your history, your previous patterns of giving up, should be enough to make you say, "I knew it would not work for me." They have already scheduled the betrayal, the disappointment, the news that does not go the way you prayed. They have already timed the friend who says the discouraging thing without knowing they are being used. They have already cued the fear, the confusion, the sudden urgency that pulls you away from your place of stillness. And all of it is designed to arrive before Sunday so that when Sunday comes, you are no longer in position to receive. But there is something the enemy failed to account for. And that something is why this message is in your hands right now. The Holy Spirit moved first. This message was placed here before the attack completed its schedule, because when God says stand still and watch, He does not leave you standing blind. He tells you what is coming so you can recognize it and refuse to move. You have been given these next moments to understand what Sunday carries and what the enemy is doing to stop it. Stay with every word, because what you are about to learn is not just spiritual encouragement. It is the specific intelligence you need to survive the next 4 days and arrive at Sunday in your rightful position. The first thing you need to understand is who you are in this, because the level of opposition you have been facing is not random. The depth of the preparation that has been happening in your life is not accidental, and the timing of what God is releasing this Sunday is not a coincidence. Everything that has been happening to you, everything that has felt like delay, like wilderness, like unanswered silence, has been forming something in you that is about to become undeniable. Find a place where you can be alone with these words. If you cannot find silence right now, if there are voices around you and noise pressing in, I want you to do something. Take a single breath, a slow one, not for any technique, not to activate anything, just to mark this moment as separate from everything else in your day. This message is not background. What you are about to receive requires your full presence. You were brought here by something that does not operate on coincidence. The series of events that led to this specific moment, the specific thing that made you pause and stay, that was not random. The spiritual world does not work in accidents. You were redirected here because something in this message belongs specifically to you. and the enemy already knows that, which is why the distractions around you have probably been especially loud today. Put your hand on your chest for just a moment, not because it is a ritual, but because I want you to feel that your heart is still beating. That means you are still here. That means it is not too late. That means whatever has felt like delay, whatever has felt like you are running out of time, is not the final word. The final word on your life has not yet been spoken. And what God is preparing to speak this Sunday, you were designed to hear. Now breathe again, and let us begin. There is a kind of knowing that lives below the surface of everything you have been telling yourself, below the explanations you have offered other people about why you feel the way you feel, below the logic you have used to make sense of what your life looks like right now. Beneath all of it, there is a recognition that has been pressing upward for a long time, waiting for the moment you would finally stop talking over it and let it be named. I am about to name it, and as I do, I want you to pay attention to what happens in your body, in your breath, in the place behind your chest where truth lands differently than information. Because what you are about to recognize about yourself is not new. It has always been true. What is new is that you are finally in a season where it is safe enough to fully receive it. The first thing I want you to recognize about yourself is the way your emotions have been moving differently lately. There are moments of inexplicable sadness that rise up when you are doing something completely ordinary, when you are washing dishes or sitting in traffic or lying in bed before sleep, and there is no clear reason for it. No recent loss, no specific disappointment, just a wave of something that feels ancient and unresolved rising through your chest without warning. And then it passes, and you tell yourself it was nothing, but it was not nothing. What you have been experiencing is the movement of a soul that is in transition. Emotional waves are one of the clearest signs that something beneath the surface is shifting. The person you have been is loosening its grip on the person you are becoming. That sadness is not depression, though it can feel like depression. It is the grief that accompanies genuine transformation. It is the weight of leaving behind everything familiar, every old story, every old version of yourself, even the ones that kept you safe, because they are no longer large enough to hold who you are becoming. And then there are the moments of unexpected peace. You are in the middle of a situation that by all external measures should be causing you significant stress, and instead you feel strangely calm, as though some part of you already knows how this ends. You feel a steadiness underneath the noise that you cannot fully explain to people who are watching you. That calm is not denial. That calm is the fruit of a spirit that has been anchored in something larger than the current circumstances. These emotional waves, the sudden tears, the unearned peace, the grief with no clear object, the hope that surfaces without obvious reason, these are not signs of instability. They are the language of a spirit in deep transformation. The chosen one does not become who they were made to be without passing through this kind of inner weather. You are not falling apart. You are being restructured. The second sign I want to name is what has been happening to your sleep, not the simple inability to fall asleep that comes from stress or too much screen time, something more specific than that. You fall asleep without much difficulty, but then somewhere in the night, you wake up, and it is often at a similar time. The waking itself is not gradual and groggy. It is more like a switch being turned on. Your mind is immediately active, immediately alert, as though something woke you on purpose because something needs your attention. In that hour of waking, your thoughts go directly to the things that carry the most weight, your purpose, the decisions that feel unresolved, the relationships that are changing, the calling that has been pressing against you for months or years. And sometimes, in that darkness of early morning, something becomes clear that was confused all day. An answer arrives when the noise of the waking world cannot compete with it. A direction becomes obvious that felt murky when you were surrounded by other voices. The early church understood this. The ancient texts are full of accounts of people who received instruction in the night, not in the assembly, not in the marketplace, but in the darkness, before dawn, when the soul is stripped of its social performance and sits in its truest state before God. The night is not empty time between days. The night is where God often speaks to those who are being prepared for something their daytime mind cannot yet fully process. If this has been your experience, the waking, the alertness, the thoughts that carry more clarity than your daylight hours, hear this. You are not having trouble sleeping. You are being called into a posture of receiving. Your spirit is being trained to be alert in the hours when the world is quiet. And what you receive in that night waking is not anxiety, it is preparation. The one who is being positioned for Sunday does not sleep the same way as someone who has no appointment ahead. The third sign is what I call the tolerance shift. Something has changed in what you are able to be around. Environments that used to feel neutral or even comfortable now feel draining in a way that is almost physical. Conversations that used to not bother you now feel like they are pulling something essential out of you. People who have been in your life for years now feel somehow incompatible with where you are going, not because they have changed, but because you have. And you cannot explain this to them without sounding arrogant or cold. You have started protecting your energy in ways that look antisocial from the outside. You cancel plans you would have kept before. You leave gatherings earlier than you used to. You have a lower threshold for drama, for gossip, for people who bring nothing but noise and take more than they contribute. You find yourself increasingly drawn to silence, to solitude, to the kinds of conversations that actually go somewhere real, and increasingly repelled by everything that feels like surface performance. This is not isolation, this is discernment. The people who are meant for the season you are entering are not the same people who were meant for the season you are leaving. This is one of the most disorienting parts of being a chosen one in transition. The relationships that served your formation begin to release as you move toward your assignment. It is not rejection, it is reorganization, and it is not something you need to apologize for. The grief of growing away from familiar people is real. It sits heavy. It makes you question whether you are becoming cold or spiritually arrogant. But the quiet in your chest, when you protect your energy, the sense of rightness, when you say no to the environments that drain you, that quiet is not indifference. It is the spirit confirming that your boundaries are not walls. They are the necessary architecture of someone who needs to be full when Sunday arrives. The fourth sign is harder to explain to someone who has not experienced it, but you know exactly what I am talking about. There have been moments recently when you knew something before you had any rational reason to know it. A phone call you picked up before it rang because you already sensed who it was. A direction you took, a decision you made that felt irrational in the moment but turned out to be exactly right. A warning in your spirit about a situation or a person that you could not justify with evidence but that turned out to be accurate. These flashes of intuitive knowing are becoming more frequent. The more you quiet yourself, the more they come. The more you practice the kind of stillness that the watch protocol we will discuss later is designed to teach you, the louder these internal signals become. And there is a reason for that increase. You are not developing a spiritual gift out of nowhere. You are growing into the fullness of the seer identity that has been embedded in you since before you were born. The seer does not manufacture their knowing. The seer has learned, usually through years of being in environments where survival required early detection of what was coming, to read the spiritual atmosphere before it becomes visible. Every chosen one who carries the seer identity has a history that shaped it, has been in rooms where they needed to know more than what was being spoken, has developed a sensitivity that other people around them were never forced to develop. But here is what you need to understand about the intuition flashes you have been experiencing. They are not random spiritual static. They are specific. They are useful. And they are increasing because God is preparing you to navigate the days ahead with more precision than your rational mind alone could provide. The intuition you have been quietly trusting, the one you sometimes dismiss because it does not fit inside logic, is one of the primary ways God will guide you through what is unfolding before Sunday. Do not shut it down. Do not explain it away. Trust it. The fifth sign is the exhaustion, not the exhaustion of someone who has been physically overworked, not the tiredness that a good night of sleep would solve. This is something that sits in the bones, as though the weight you have been carrying is not on your shoulders, but woven into your cellular structure. You wake up tired. You get through the day tired. You wonder sometimes if something is medically wrong, because this level of weariness does not match the hours of rest you have gotten. What you are experiencing is the weight of spiritual preparation. The formation that has been happening in the unseen realm requires resources from the seen realm to sustain it. The rebuilding of identity, the clearing of generational patterns, the establishment of new inner architecture capable of holding what God is preparing to place in you, all of this is metabolically and spiritually expensive. The weariness is not the sign of someone who is losing. It is the sign of someone who is in the most intensive period of preparation of their life. Joseph knew this weariness. It is the tiredness of someone who has been in the pit longer than they thought they would be, who has carried faithful service through circumstances that did not feel like preparation because they felt like punishment. It is the tiredness of someone who has kept their integrity when no one was watching and has no guarantee that anyone ever will. It is the specific and particular exhaustion of a chosen one who has been faithful in the hidden season. And hear this, the weariness you feel right now is not a sign that Sunday is far away. It is a sign that Sunday is very close. The final stretch of any significant formation season is always the heaviest. Not because God is making it harder, but because the body and spirit are completing the last stages of a reconstruction that began long before you understood what was being built. The tiredness you feel is the tiredness of almost. You are almost there, and what meets you on Sunday will be worth every moment of this wait. If those 5 signs landed somewhere real in you, if something in you said yes to one or more of them, then what you just experienced is recognition, the specific kind that chosen ones carry, the kind that happens when truth that has always been present is finally spoken out loud. And recognition matters, but recognition alone is not the destination. Recognition is the beginning. Because underneath those 5 signs, underneath the emotional waves and the night waking and the changed tolerance and the intuition and the weariness, there is a question that all of them are pointing toward. A question that has been pressing against you from the inside for a long time now. And the question is not what is happening to me. The question is what is being formed in me, and why, and for what moment. That question is the threshold between the chosen one, who is watching their life from the outside, confused and exhausted by what seems like one long delay, and the chosen one who begins to understand that every element of the formation season was precise, purposeful, and pointing toward a specific appointment. You are at that threshold right now, and what we are about to walk through together will change the way you see everything that has happened to you and everything that is coming. The formation season is not a pause in your story, it is the center of it. And understanding what was being built inside you during the hardest years of your life will do something for your ability to stand on Sunday, that no amount of positive thinking or prayer alone can do. It will give you the specific kind of faith that comes from understanding, and understanding is what we are building right now. What I have just named in those 5 signs is not the totality of what the chosen one in formation experiences. It is the beginning of a conversation that most people around you have not been equipped to have. Because the experience of being a chosen one in the final stretch of a formation season is almost entirely internal, it does not appear on the outside in ways that translate easily to the vocabulary of everyday conversation. How do you explain to someone over coffee that you keep waking at 3 in the morning with a clarity that does not belong to ordinary sleep? How do you articulate to a colleague the reason you have gradually reduced your engagement with certain social environments without sounding like you are becoming difficult? How do you describe the emotional waves, the inexplicable tears, and the unearned peace to someone who has been taught that emotions are primarily signals of what is wrong rather than what is being reorganized? You mostly do not. And so you carry it quietly. And the carrying, the sustained holding of something significant in a space of relative silence, is itself one of the defining practices of the chosen one in the formation season. You have been learning to hold what heaven is building in you without requiring the validation of the people around you to confirm that it is real. That is a specific and advanced form of spiritual maturity. And the fact that you have had to learn it, that the silence around your forming was not a choice you made, but a circumstance you were given, makes it more genuine rather than less. There are others right now, at this exact moment, who are sitting with words like these and experiencing the same convergence of recognition you are experiencing. They are in different cities, different countries, different circumstances. Some of them have never met anyone in their immediate life who could speak the language of the chosen one formation. Some of them have been in churches that told them to be strong without giving them permission to be honest about the weariness of the strong. Some of them have been in communities that celebrated visible success so consistently that the hidden season felt like failure. And they have been carrying what you have been carrying without a name for it, without a community that understood it, simply holding on because the alternative of letting go never felt like a genuine option. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone in this, even when the aloneness felt absolute. And this is part of what Sunday is releasing, not just the specific breakthrough of your personal kairos, but the recognition of a community that is rising together into the season that follows the formation. The chosen ones who have been in their individual wildernesses are being gathered. The ones who have been carrying their callings in private are being positioned in proximity to each other. The isolation of the formation season is ending, and what replaces it is something the isolation was specifically preparing you to understand and value in a way you never could have before the wilderness. There is a reason I asked you to find stillness before this message unfolded further. It is not a technique, it is a theological statement. The God who speaks to the chosen one has always preferred the quiet. The burning bush is in the wilderness, away from the city. The still small voice comes after the earthquake, and the fire and the wind. The night waking that the chosen one experiences, that 3 in the morning alertness that carries more clarity than the noisy day, is not insomnia. It is an invitation to a conversation that the world cannot interrupt when it is asleep. The environment in which you receive spiritual truth matters, not because God cannot speak over noise, but because you cannot hear as clearly over noise. The receiver has a signal-to-noise ratio, and the sacred environment, the deliberate creation of space that is protected from interruption, from distraction, from the demands of the performing self that is always managing impressions and responding to expectations, is how the chosen one maximizes their signal-to-noise ratio for the most important messages they will ever receive. What you are doing right now, sitting with this message, is a spiritual discipline, even if it does not feel like one. Every minute you give to receiving this, rather than to producing or performing or managing or reacting, is a minute in which the formation that has been happening in the unseen is given the space to become conscious, to move from the place of knowing that sits below your thoughts and arrive at the level of thoughts that can be named and held and acted on. Honor this time. Do not multitask through it, because the truths that are moving through this message are the kind that require full attention to fully land. And a truth that passes through your awareness without landing is a truth that is available to you but not yet yours. What you are building right now is the inner architecture that makes it possible for the arrival of Sunday to be received fully rather than partially. And that architecture is built one moment of honest, full presence at a time. There is a version of your story that you have been telling yourself that is not entirely accurate. Not because you lied to yourself, but because the angle from which you have been watching your own life does not give you access to the full picture. You have been watching from inside the formation, looking outward at what is missing, at what has been delayed, at what everyone else seems to have that you do not yet hold. And from that angle, the story looks like struggle. It looks like being overlooked. It looks like faithfulness without reward. But there is another angle, and from that angle, the story looks completely different. From that angle, the hard years were not filler between the good parts of your story. The hard years were the good part. Not good in the sense of pleasant, good in the sense of essential, good in the sense that without them, what God is preparing to release through you on Sunday would have no foundation to stand on. Every painful season of your life was weight-bearing. Every moment of silence from heaven was load-bearing. Nothing was wasted. The wilderness serves three purposes that are inseparable from the identity of anyone God is preparing for significant assignment. The first purpose is the removal of the counterfeit. Before you can carry the real thing, everything that pretended to be it must be stripped away. The false confidence that came from your own abilities, the identity that was built on what other people approved of, the purpose that was borrowed from someone else's expectation of you. None of these can survive the wilderness, and they were not supposed to, because the real thing, the genuine calling, the actual identity, the true purpose, is what remains when everything false has been burned away. The second purpose of the wilderness is the formation of a specific kind of character that cannot be manufactured by success. Patience that only comes from waiting longer than feels possible. Humility that only comes from being stripped of the things you used to use to feel significant. Compassion that only comes from being in need yourself and not being rescued on your timeline. Trust that only comes from having no option but to trust because every other plan has failed. These are not decorative qualities. They are structural. They are the architecture that makes it possible to sustain the weight of what God is about to place in your hands. The third purpose of the wilderness is the deepening of the listening. In seasons of success and visibility and constant activity, the voice of God becomes one of many competing voices. In the wilderness, the noise falls away. The distractions reveal themselves as distractions. The relationships that were built on your usefulness thin out. And in that thinning, in that quieting, the voice that has always been the most important voice becomes the only one you can clearly hear. The wilderness teaches you to hear with a precision that busy seasons never could. And what you hear in the wilderness is what you will need to hear in order to navigate Sunday and everything that comes after it. There is a woman in the ancient texts whose story carries more precision for your life right now than almost any other. Her name was Esther. And before I tell you what I believe her story says to you specifically, I want to tell you something about who she was before the coronation. before the moment that history remembers. Esther was an orphan, both parents gone, raised by her cousin Mordecai, a man who understood that her life was in danger simply because of who she was born to be. She lived in a foreign land, among a people who were not her own, under a name that was not her birth name. She had been required from childhood to conceal the most essential part of her identity, to perform safety rather than live in truth. And in the middle of all of that, she was chosen for a palace she never sought, positioned for a throne she never asked for, and given access to a king who held the power of life and death over everyone she loved. And then the moment came, the moment that the entire arc of her story had been building toward. Her people were about to be destroyed. A decree had been signed, and Esther was the only person in the right position to change it. But changing it required her to do the one thing that terrified her most. It required her to walk into the presence of the king without being summoned. And in that kingdom, walking into the presence of the king uninvited was punishable by death, unless the king chose to extend his golden scepter, in which case you lived. Mordecai sent her a message, and the message was this: do not think that because you are in the palace, you will escape what is coming to your people. Perhaps you were placed in your position for such a time as this. Perhaps the position you are in, the access you carry, the proximity you have been given, the years of preparation you have undergone, perhaps all of it was not about your comfort or your security. Perhaps it was about this moment, this exact moment, when only someone with your specific story, your specific formation, your specific access could do what needs to be done. Esther went in. After 3 days of fasting, after calling her community into alignment around the weight of the moment, after sitting with the gravity and the terror and the responsibility of what she was being asked to do, she went in, and the king extended the scepter, and her people were saved. And what she could not have known before she took that step was that the very enemy who had built the decree against her people would be undone by the very request she came to make. What I want you to hear from Esther is this: the years of concealment were not loss. They were preparation for a disclosure that could only be effective because of the position she occupied. The years of living in a foreign land, of learning the customs of a kingdom that was not originally her own, those were not exile. They were the education that qualified her for what she was ultimately called to do. The vulnerability of her position, the orphan, the outsider, the woman in a world that undervalued women, was not her weakness. It was the precise combination of qualities that positioned her for a moment that required someone who had learned to depend entirely on God rather than on human power. And Sunday is your such a time as this. The specific season you are in, the specific things you have been formed through, the specific combination of weariness and clarity and readiness and stillness that is present in you right now. This is not an accident of timing. This is divine positioning. You have been placed where you are, carrying what you carry, having been through exactly what you have been through, because this moment required someone like you. And Sunday is when you walk into the room. In the original Hebrew text of Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, there is a word that most English translations render as "be strong and courageous." The word is chazak. And when you understand what kazak actually means in the Hebrew, the instruction changes entirely. Chazak does not simply mean summon strength through willpower. Chazak means to seize, to hold fast, to have what is already yours grip you from the inside. It is not a call to manufacture something from nothing. It is a command to receive what has already been deposited. The strength being referred to is not a strength you have to produce. It is a strength that was placed inside you during the formation, during the wilderness, during every moment of faithful endurance when no one was watching and no reward had arrived yet. When God says to Joshua, "Be strong, Chazak, be courageous," the subtext is, the strength is already in you. Grip it. Do not let go of what has already been given. Because the wilderness did not only demand things from Joshua, the wilderness deposited things into Joshua. The 40 years of leading people through desert, of managing complaints and rebellions and doubts and fears, of walking in faithfulness toward a promise he could not yet see, those years built something in Joshua that the promised land was going to require. And here is what that means for you specifically. The formation you have been through did not just take from you, the formation deposited into you. And Kazak is the command to lay hold of what was deposited. Not to strive and manufacture and push your way into what you believe should already be yours, but to seize from the inside the strength, the clarity, the authority, the identity that was placed in you precisely for this season. Sunday is not a moment for you to perform strength you do not have. Sunday is a moment for you to chazak, to grip what has already been built into you, and to stand in it without apology. The chosen one, who will walk into Sunday with authority, is not the one who feels the most confident or carries the most momentum. It is the one who has learned that what they need was deposited long before they needed it, and who has learned to access it from the inside out, rather than trying to summon it from external conditions. There is an ancient image that crosses cultural boundaries, appearing in the stories of civilizations that never shared borders or language, an image so persistent that its presence in nearly every tradition suggests it is pointing at a universal truth. The image is of a bird, radiant and alive, that comes to the end of its cycle, gathers everything it has, lies down in the midst of its own fire, and is consumed entirely, reduced to ash, to nothing. And then, from that ash, entirely reborn. The phoenix does not carry its old form into the new life. The phoenix does not hold on to the feathers from the previous season, does not preserve a wing or a fragment of its old form to prove it survived. The phoenix comes out of the ash entirely new, carrying the essence of what it was, the fire, the life, the calling, but none of the weight, none of the wounds, none of the accumulated damage of the previous season. You have been in the ash. You may not have had language for it, but what you have been experiencing, the stripping, the grief, the loss of the old form of yourself, the long period of feeling reduced, of feeling like less than you were, of wondering if the person you used to be will ever return. That is the ash. And the ash is not the end of your story. The ash is the moment right before the most significant emergence of your life. The phoenix does not choose the fire. The fire is the condition of the becoming, but the phoenix is not destroyed by what was designed to destroy it. The phoenix is revealed by it. And what is about to emerge from you this Sunday, the version of you that has been forming in the heat of everything you have been through, is not a diminished version. It is the truest, most distilled, most essential version of who you actually are. The fire did not reduce you, the fire revealed you. I want to pause here for a moment, not to move on to the next truth, but to let this one breathe, because what we have just walked through together, the formation, Esther, the chazak in your bones, the phoenix in your ash, this is not information. This is recognition of a level that requires time to settle. If you are listening to these words while doing something else, I want to invite you to stop doing the other thing, just for these few minutes. Because what is being spoken into your life right now is the kind of truth that does not fully land when it has to compete with distraction. And what you are about to receive in the sections that follow requires you to be fully present. Your presence here is not passive. Your attention is an act of receiving. Take a breath. Let the weight of what it means to be a chosen one in formation land fully on you, not as a burden, but as an honor. The people who walk through what you have walked through and emerge, still faithful, still seeking, still willing to stand at attention for what God is doing, those people are rare. The world is full of people who started the journey. The world is much smaller when it comes to those who stayed through what you have stayed through. You stayed. That means something. That means a great deal. And what meets you on Sunday is in direct proportion to the faithfulness of the person who stayed when leaving would have been so much easier. I want to linger for a moment longer in the story of Esther, specifically in the 3 days before she went in. Because those 3 days are the most instructive part of her story for where you are right now, and they are the part that is most often treated as a logistical detail rather than a spiritual lesson. Esther did not go in immediately after the message of Mordecai arrived. She did not respond to the urgency of the moment by moving without preparation. She requested 3 days. 3 days of fasting, of collective prayer, of sitting in the weight of the assignment before she moved into action. She was not delaying from fear. She was preparing from wisdom. She understood something that is easy to miss when you are reading the story from the outside, which is that the effectiveness of what she was going to do in the court was entirely dependent on the internal posture she carried when she walked through the door. If she had gone in immediately, driven by the urgency that the message of Mordecai carried, she would have gone in from reaction, from the striving frequency, from the activated beta state that the emergency had produced. And from that state, the outcome would have been uncertain, not because God was not with her, but because the channel through which she needed to receive the wisdom for that specific conversation, the alpha state of open, receptive, attuned presence, would have been disrupted by the rush. The 3 days were the watch protocol that Esther practiced. Stand by refusing to be moved into premature action despite the urgency of the situation. Still, by fasting and prayer, by the deliberate quieting of her own striving and fear so that the presence of God could be the dominant voice in her spirit. Watch by paying attention in those 3 days to what the Spirit was clarifying about who she was and what she was carrying and what the court required from her and how the approach needed to be shaped. And she emerged from 3 days of the watch protocol with the specific quality that made what followed possible: a settled authority, not the confidence of someone who had talked themselves into believing they could do it. The settled authority of someone who had sat in the presence of God long enough to know that what they were walking into was already prepared, that the outcome was already written, that her job was not to manufacture the breakthrough, but to arrive in the posture that made it receivable. She went in, and the king extended the scepter, not because she performed perfectly, but because she showed up in the right posture, at the right moment, with the right authority, the authority that 3 days of the watch protocol had built into her spine. And the enemy plan, the plan of Haman, and every force arrayed against her people, was undone not by the strategy of Esther, but by the kairos of God, arriving to find a chosen one in position. There is a quality that the formation builds in the chosen one that the world almost never sees and almost never rewards. But that is perhaps the most significant gift the wilderness gives. I want to name it carefully because it is easy to misunderstand. The quality is what I call a secret life, not a life of hidden sin or concealment from accountability. The secret life of the chosen one in formation is the life that happens between the visible moments, the prayers that no one witnesses, the faithfulness maintained in the rooms where no one is evaluating the faithfulness, the choices made in the direction of integrity when the easier choice was available and no one would have known the difference, the perseverance that continues when the only witness is God. Most of human society is organized around the rewarding of visible performance. Accolades go to what can be seen and measured and celebrated. The hidden faithfulness, the quiet endurance, The daily choice to hold the posture when collapsing would have been so much easier receives no applause from the world. And this creates a specific testing ground for the chosen one in formation. The question the formation poses repeatedly in different forms over and over across the years of the wilderness is this: will you remain faithful when there is nothing to gain from it by the standards of the world? Will you hold the posture when no one is watching and no reward is on the visible horizon and the cost of holding is real? The chosen one who passes that test, who holds through that season, who maintains the secret life of faithfulness in the hidden season, is the chosen one who arrives at the kairos with something the world cannot counterfeit. The specific authority that comes from being faithful to the vision when the vision was not yet visible. The specific depth of root that comes from being anchored in something deeper than external validation. The specific settledness that comes from knowing that you held when you did not have to and no one was watching. And that holding was not a performance. It was a choice, made freely from the inside out. That secret life is the treasury of the chosen one. It is what they carry into the assignment, not the credentials, not the publicly visible achievements, the secret faithfulness, the years of private emunah. The formation that happened in the wilderness where no ceremony was held and no recognition was offered. That is the thing that makes the chosen one actually equipped for what the assignment requires. And it is the thing the Sunday kairos releases, not into the awareness of the world of what you have done, but into the full use of what you have become. The wilderness forms 5 specific attributes in the chosen one that no other environment can produce with the same depth or durability. The first is the ability to hold peace inside chaos. This is not the absence of awareness of the chaos. The chosen one who has been through the wilderness knows the chaos is real. They are not naive about it, but they have learned, through prolonged exposure to circumstances that should have destroyed their peace and did not, that there is a level of inner settledness that the external world simply cannot reach, and that settledness becomes the most powerful thing they carry into their assignment. The second attribute is what I call the gift of unimpressedness. After the wilderness, the things that used to feel urgent and important, the approval of specific people, the appearance of success, the status markers that the world uses to rank human value, these things lose their grip, not because the chosen one becomes cold or detached from humanity, but because they have been to the place where none of those things were available, and they found that the presence of God was more than sufficient. And once you have found that, you cannot be easily manipulated by the absence of anything the world uses to define worth. The third attribute is the capacity for genuine empathy, not the performative empathy that comes from having read about suffering. The real kind. The kind that comes from having been in your own version of the pit, from knowing what it feels like to be overlooked and underestimated and misunderstood, from knowing the specific weight of praying in faith and waiting and seeing nothing move for longer than you thought you could bear. That kind of empathy creates in you a ministry of presence that is irreplaceable. You can sit with someone in their wilderness without flinching because you know the terrain. And that knowing is something God is going to use in the lives of others in ways you cannot yet fully see. The fourth attribute is creative resourcefulness. When you are in a season where the resources you would normally draw on are not available, something shifts. You begin to see provision in places you would never have looked before. You begin to value what you have with a precision and gratitude that excess never produces. You develop the ability to do more with less, to see possibility in what others dismiss as insufficient. And this creativity, this seeing that the wilderness trained in you, is exactly what you will need for what comes after Sunday. Because what God is releasing is not coming in the form you expect, and you will need the eyes the wilderness trained in you to recognize it. The fifth attribute is what the ancient writers called long-suffering, the ability to remain in faithfulness over extended periods without the encouragement of visible result. This is perhaps the most rare and the most valuable attribute of all. Anyone can be faithful for a week. Anyone can hold the vision when the evidence is mounting. The chosen one who has learned to hold the vision when the evidence is silent, when the waiting has extended past every timeline they built, when the people around them have offered their sympathies and moved on to other expectations, that chosen one has developed a spiritual endurance that is structurally different from determination. Determination is manufactured, long-suffering is forged, and what is forged is permanent. These five attributes, the settled peace, the unimpressedness, the genuine empathy, the creative resourcefulness, and the long-suffering, are not the story of what the wilderness took from you. They are the story of what the wilderness gave you, and they are what you are bringing to Sunday. They are what makes you the right person for the moment that is coming. They are not incidental, they are essential. Something else happened in the wilderness that you have probably tried not to think about too directly because it carries grief. Relationships changed, some ended. People who were supposed to be permanent fixtures in your life became people you now see occasionally or not at all. Others who felt essential to your support system revealed, often painfully, that the support was conditional on a version of you that is no longer the version you are becoming. And there is a specific grief in the departure of people who were present during the forming but will not be present during the flourishing. People who knew you in the hard years, who sat with you in the confusion, who prayed with you through the waiting, and who then, for reasons that were sometimes clear and sometimes inexplicable, moved out of close proximity just as things began to shift. You carry a tenderness toward those relationships that you do not fully know what to do with. And you have wondered sometimes if their distance means something is wrong with you. It means nothing is wrong with you. It means that certain relationships are seasonal, not because they were false, but because they were specifically equipped for a particular phase of your formation and not for what follows it. The people who help you survive the wilderness are not always the people who accompany you into the promised land. The people who held you up when you were at your lowest are not always the people who will celebrate your rising. And both kinds of people are gifts, just different kinds of gifts for different seasons. And some relationships had to thin because they were carrying patterns that the next season cannot afford. Not bad people, not enemies. People whose way of relating to you was built on a version of you that God is dismantling on purpose. Relationships built on your smallness cannot survive your expansion. Relationships built on your neediness cannot survive your healing. And it is not your job to maintain them by staying small. It is your job to let the restructuring happen and trust that the relationships built for your next season are already being positioned. What is coming in the section that follows is something I have been building toward since the first word of this message. Because understanding your formation, understanding Esther and the Chazak in your bones and the phoenix in your ash, all of it serves one purpose. It is the foundation beneath the truth that is about to land. And that truth has to do with what Sunday actually is in the spiritual calendar of your life, what God has been reserving for this specific moment, and why the enemy is deploying everything it has to prevent you from arriving at it in the right posture. There is a Greek word that the ancient texts use to describe a specific kind of time. Not ordinary time, not the chronological passage of hours and days, but the kind of time that carries weight, that is saturated with meaning, that is a pivot point between what was and what will be. The word is kairos, and Sunday is a kairos moment. It is a moment of appointed time, and what happens in kairos moments, for the ones who are in the right position to receive them, changes everything. The Greek word kairos appears throughout the ancient texts at the most significant moments. It is the word that carries the meaning of the appointed time, the right time, the divinely engineered intersection of preparation and provision. It is distinct from chronos, which is simply the passage of time, 1 hour after another, one day following the next. Kairos is time that means something. Time that is loaded with intentionality from the throne of heaven. Time when the door that has been closed swings open, not because someone finally found the key, but because it was always going to open at this moment. The life of every chosen one is marked by kairos moments, moments when the trajectory of everything shifts. And the most remarkable thing about kairos is that it almost always arrives after the longest stretch of what felt like nothing but chronos, ordinary time, ordinary waiting, ordinary faithfulness with nothing to show for it. The kairos does not announce itself in advance. It does not come with a warning label or a visible signal that the season is about to change. It arrives, often quietly, often in the form of what looks like just another day, and then something is different. Something has opened. Something is possible now that was not possible before. And the chosen one who was in position, who was still standing when everyone else had walked away, who had held the posture of readiness even when readiness felt ridiculous, receives it. Sunday is not just a day on the calendar. Sunday is a kairos. And I want to tell you something about how kairos works in the specific life of someone who has been through what you have been through. The length of the preparation is directly related to the weight of what is being released. Brief preparation cannot hold heavy assignment. The season of formation you have been in has been long, not because God forgot, not because you did something wrong, not because the enemy has more power than the promise. The season has been long because what God is about to release through you requires the specific depth of root that only extended formation produces. You cannot build a skyscraper on a shallow foundation. And what is coming after Sunday is high. It is significant. It carries weight that would collapse a person who had not been through the particular fire that you have been through. So the length of the preparation was not a punishment. It was a preparation precisely calibrated to what you are about to carry. And Sunday is when the carrying begins. The kairos of Sunday carries reorganization in 3 specific areas. And I want to speak to each one with the honesty it deserves, not with the language of guaranteed outcomes, but with the language of what becomes available to the chosen one who enters this moment in the right posture. The first area is relationships. In the kairos season, the people who have been trying to get to you but could not find the right timing suddenly appear at the right door. The connections that seemed like they were not going to materialize, the alliance that felt one conversation away but never quite arrived, the mentor, the collaborator, the person who carries the specific thing you have been missing, these begin to move into proximity. The relationships that were wrong for your previous season begin to naturally dissolve without drama. The relationships that belong to your next season begin to activate. This is not about social maneuvering. This is about the natural order that flows from a life that is in alignment with its kairos appointment. The second area is purpose clarity. Many chosen ones live for years in the painful fog of knowing they have a calling, but not having the specificity to name it clearly. They carry the certainty that they were made for something meaningful without being able to articulate what that something is in terms they can act on. In the kairos season, the fog lifts. The direction that was blurry becomes clear, not necessarily with a burning bush or an audible voice, but with a growing, undeniable internal clarity that begins to organize the decisions of daily life around a specific and particular assignment. The kairos does not produce vague spiritual feelings. The kairos produces practical direction. The third area is provision. I want to be honest with you about this one because the language of spiritual promise and financial provision has been so often misused by voices that prioritized your money over your growth. So, let me be careful. I am not promising you a specific amount of money by Sunday. I am not saying that you will receive a windfall or that your material circumstances will transform overnight. What I am saying is that in the kairos season, the resources that the assignment requires begin to align with the assignment. The people who carry what you need begin to move toward you. The opportunities that fit what you are called to do begin to emerge. Provision in the kairos is not separate from purpose. Provision arrives in service of purpose, and as the purpose clarifies, the provision aligns. There is a second Hebrew word I want to give you before we enter the deepest part of what is unfolding in this message. The word is emunah. Most English translations of the ancient texts render it as faith, but emunah in the Hebrew is not primarily about belief in the absence of evidence. Emunah is about faithfulness, steadiness, the quality of being unmoved by circumstances, rooted in something deeper than what the eyes can see. The root of emunah is the same root as the word amen, that word you speak at the end of a prayer to seal it, to say, so be it, to stake your agreement on the reality of what was just declared. Amen means this is established, this is true, this is settled. And emunah is the quality in a person that allows them to live from that settled place even before the visible evidence arrives to confirm it. Emunah is not faith as a feeling. Emunah is faith as a posture. A way of holding yourself in relation to what you believe that does not waver based on what the current moment looks or feels like. The chosen ones who move history are not the ones with the most dramatic experiences of God. They are the ones with the deepest emunah, the ones who could stand in front of an uncrossable sea and not move backward. The ones who could face the giant in the valley without letting the size of the giant determine the outcome of the encounter. The ones who could sit in a prison cell with their feet in stocks, singing at midnight, because the emunah in them was deeper than the walls around them. You have been building emunah in the wilderness. Every day you got up and kept going when you had every reasonable excuse to stop. That was emunah. Every prayer you prayed into silence that you prayed anyway, that was emunah. Every time you chose to believe the promise when the evidence was pointing in the opposite direction, that was emunah. The emunah in you right now is not the naive faith of someone who has never had their faith tested. It is the seasoned, battle-hardened, fire-refined emunah of someone who has seen the worst of what waiting feels like and kept going anyway. And here is what emunah produces specifically in the life of a chosen one who is entering a kairos moment. Emunah produces receiving capacity. Because the posture of emunah, the settled, open, expectant stillness of someone who knows what has been promised and is not collapsing under the pressure of waiting for it, is the same posture that makes it possible to actually receive what arrives. The hands of striving are closed fists. They are gripping too hard to hold what they want to receive. The hands of emunah are open hands, receptive, ready, not grasping, not forcing, not manufacturing, simply present and available for what is coming. Sunday requires open hands, and the emunah you have been building, the steadiness that has not left even when everything around you was uncertain, is what opens your hands for what is about to be released. Some of you have been feeling something throughout this message, a pull, a resonance, a recognition not just of the words but of something underneath the words, a frequency, and I want to name it honestly, with full transparency. without mystery for the sake of theater. What you have been experiencing as you have sat with the formation, the kairos, the emunah, is a natural convergence of your spiritual awareness and something that has a specific name. The open hand that emunah produces is not only a spiritual concept. It has a measurable state in the body and the mind. The ancient Vedic tradition, which preserved for over 3,300 years what the sages of that lineage understood about receiving, would call this the alpha state, the channel through which what has been promised can finally land. The striving that the modern world manufactures, the permanent reaching, the constant calculation, the urgency that never pauses, keeps the receiving channel closed. It is a frequency the ancient sages identified and built entire disciplines to counteract. And there is a sound architecture, a specific audio tool that I believe God has positioned specifically for chosen ones in this season, that carries what those sages preserved, unbroken. For over 33 centuries, it is called the wealth signal, and for those who feel the Spirit drawing them toward it, the path to it is waiting in the description and the pinned comment below this message. I am not asking you to make a decision about it now. I am simply naming what is available, because truth honors truth. And the truth is that what we are about to discuss in the hours before Sunday is going to require you to hold a specific kind of stillness, and there is a tool designed precisely for that. It is there for you if the Spirit confirms it. And right now, let us continue, because there is more you need to know. Every season in the life of a chosen one has specific characteristics. The winter season is defined by invisibility, by doing the work of formation in private, while the world around you moves and flourishes, and none of it seems to involve you. The spring season is the emergence, the first visible evidence that what was forming underground is now breaking through the surface. And the summer season is the fullness, the bearing of fruit, the visible evidence of what the winter built. You have been in winter, and the specific cruelty and gift of the winter season is that it looks the same day after day. Nothing appears to change on the surface. The seed underground does not announce its growth to the snow above it. The work happens in the dark, in the cold, in the quiet, and there is no applause for it. The winter chosen one, who is doing exactly the right things, forming exactly the right depth of root, building exactly the right inner architecture, gets no external confirmation of any of this until spring arrives. But here is what the winter does not tell you, and what spring makes undeniable. The growth that happened underground during the silence was the most important growth that occurs in the entire life cycle of the tree. The root system that forms in winter is what determines how tall and how wide and how fruitful the spring and summer will be. A tree with shallow roots can look spectacular in spring, but will not survive the storms of summer. A tree with deep winter roots can weather conditions that would destroy everything around it. Your roots go down deep. The winter was long enough and dark enough and demanding enough that the roots did not have the option of staying shallow. They were pressed down and outward by the pressure of the season into a depth that is now invisible but structurally essential. And spring is coming. Sunday is the first day of spring, and what emerges from you beginning on Sunday is rooted in a depth that the world around you will not be able to explain because they did not see the winter. Take a breath here. You have been receiving a great deal, and receiving requires space. Not every truth needs to be immediately processed and categorized and made actionable. Some truths need to simply be allowed to settle. The kairos, the emunah, the winter and the spring, and the depth of your roots, these are not concepts for your intellect. They are realities for your spirit. And your spirit does not process truth the way your mind processes information. Your spirit processes truth through resonance. When something is true for you at the deepest level, it does not produce analysis. It produces recognition, a settling, a sense of something clicking into alignment that had been slightly out of alignment without you fully knowing it. If you have been experiencing that through this message, that is not emotional reaction. That is your spirit receiving what it already knew and has been waiting for someone to name. You have carried the weight of this season with more grace than you have given yourself credit for. The fact that you are still here, still seeking, still willing to sit with a message this long and this substantive, speaks to a resilience that the world does not always see and God does not miss. The faithfulness of the one who shows up even when showing up costs something is the faithfulness that heaven records. It is recorded. Every act of Imuna in the dark has been witnessed and documented. And what we are about to walk into next is the part of this message I have been the most careful about. Because what you are about to understand about what the enemy is doing right now, specifically in the days before Sunday, is the kind of understanding that changes everything. It does not frighten, it equips. It does not diminish. It dignifies, because knowing the enemy's strategy is not a cause for alarm, it is a cause for preparedness. And the chosen one who is prepared does not run from what is coming. They stand in it. There is something the kairos season does to perception that I want to name specifically because it is one of the clearest signs that you are entering it. The world begins to look different from the inside. Not more optimistic necessarily, not more confident in the ordinary sense, but more clarified. As though a particular kind of fog that you had become so accustomed to, you had forgotten it was fog, is beginning to lift. And in the clearing, you begin to see with a kind of sharpness that feels unfamiliar but also feels like something you vaguely remember, as though this level of clarity is not new but restored. The kairos season restores sight, not physical sight, the sight of the seer. The ability to read the spiritual landscape of your circumstances with a precision that was suppressed during the formation by the volume of everything the formation was pressing through. When the pressure of the formation begins to ease, when the final layers of the stripping have completed and the last remnants of the counterfeit have been cleared, the genuine gift of perception that was always in you surfaces with a sharpness that can be startling. You may have already been noticing this. The conversations where you suddenly understand the deeper current beneath the surface words being spoken. The situations where you sense the unseen dynamic before it becomes visible to anyone else. The relationships where you feel with increasing precision which connections carry life for this new season, and which ones, however dear they have been, belong to the season that is closing. This is not analysis. This is not strategy. This is the perceptual gift of the kairos season, making itself known in the chosen one who has been faithful enough to arrive at this threshold. Trust the sharpness, trust the clarity, trust the increasing precision of what you sense and know and feel and see in this season. Because the discernment that is coming online in you right now is not something you manufactured, it is the fruit of the formation. It is the graduation of the seer identity, and it is exactly what you will need to navigate the days between this moment and Sunday, to recognize the 4 forms of the enemy attack when they arrive, to distinguish them from what God is releasing, and to hold your posture through the pressure until the kairos door is fully open. The chosen one entering the spring of the kairos carries something that is fundamentally different from anything they had in the winter. Not a different set of external circumstances, though those will come. Something internal. A quality of being that was not available before the formation completed its work. The best word I have for it is settledness. A deep, non-anxious, rooted settledness that is not the absence of awareness of difficulty, but the presence of something stronger than difficulty. This settledness is what allows the chosen one to carry weight without being crushed by it. It is what allows them to hold space for the pain of other people without being overwhelmed by it. It is what allows them to receive the kairos breakthrough without immediately grasping at it and collapsing it under the pressure of trying to control what it does and where it goes. The settledness is the fruit of the formation, and it is the soil in which the kairos takes root. And the settledness produces a specific quality of leadership that the world desperately needs from the chosen ones who have been through the wilderness. It is the quality of being unshakable, not because nothing can touch you, but because what can touch you can no longer fundamentally redefine you. The chosen one who has been through the stripping knows who they are at the level below circumstances. They know their identity is not determined by their success. They know their worth is not calibrated by the approval of other people. They know their calling does not depend on the cooperation of the people around them. And that knowing, that deep, forged, fire-tested knowing, is exactly what the season that follows Sunday is going to require from you. What you are entering on Sunday is not a vacation from difficulty. Let me be honest about that. The kairos breakthrough does not mean the absence of resistance. It means the beginning of a new kind of difficulty, the difficulty of the assignment, the difficulty of visible purpose, the difficulty of carrying what you have been prepared to carry in the season where everyone can see you carrying it. And the settledness you built in the hidden season is the settledness that will sustain you in the visible one. I want to give you 3 practical understandings about how the kairos operates that will change the way you move in the days before Sunday. The first understanding is that the kairos does not arrive to a posture of grasping. The open hand of emunah is not a metaphor. It is the literal energetic posture that the receiving state requires. The person who is reaching forward, who is straining toward what they want, whose entire being is oriented toward the acquiring of what they believe they are owed, is in the exact opposite posture from the one that makes reception possible. The kairos lands on the one who has stopped reaching long enough to notice that what they have been reaching for has been trying to reach them. Stand still. Stop reaching. Not because you are giving up, not because you have abandoned hope, but because the reach is the thing that keeps you from receiving. This is the deepest counterintuitive truth of the watch protocol. The stillness is not inaction. The stillness is the action that makes everything else possible. The stillness is what opens the channel that the striving keeps closed. The second practical understanding about the kairos is that it does not require announcement. The chosen one, who tells everyone around them that they are on the verge of a significant breakthrough, is the chosen one who often watches that breakthrough delayed by the premature exposure. There is a reason the seed does not announce its germination from underground. There is a reason the morning does not announce itself until the sky actually lightens. The kairos carries its own announcement, and your job in the days before it is not to tell the story of what is coming. Your job is to hold the awareness of what is coming and protect it in the quiet of your own spirit until it becomes visible on its own terms. Speak less about what you are expecting from Sunday, not because speaking reduces the possibility, but because speaking the expectation outward into environments that are not equipped to hold it with the same faith that you hold it with creates pressure on the expectation to perform on the timelines of other people. And the kairos does not perform for audiences. The kairos arrives when it is appointed to arrive, and the chosen one who has protected the expectation in silence will be the one who receives it with the fullness it was intended to carry. The third practical understanding is that the kairos often arrives in the form of something you nearly dismissed. The burning bush is a shrub on fire, unremarkable in a wilderness that is full of burning things. But Moses turned aside to see it. He did not keep walking because it did not match the form he expected the divine encounter to take. He turned aside, and in the turning aside, in the willingness to investigate what could have been dismissed as ordinary, he received the most significant divine encounter of his life. Keep your attention sensitive to what you might be inclined to dismiss. In the days before Sunday, pay attention to the things that do not quite fit, the conversation that goes in an unexpected direction, the door that opens without your pushing, the connection that arrives without your engineering, the quiet confirmation in your spirit about a direction you had not fully considered. The kairos does not always arrive in the form you prepared for, and the chosen one who holds the expectation loosely enough to recognize the thing when it arrives in its actual form, rather than the form they imagined, is the one who does not miss it. Before I show you what the enemy is deploying in the days before Sunday, because I am going to show you, there is one more thing I need you to understand first. One more layer beneath everything we have covered that changes the way the attack makes sense. And this layer, once you see it, will make the specific nature of what is coming not just recognizable but navigable. Stay with me, because this is the part that everything else has been building toward. The horror that this message names is not what God is doing. Let me say that clearly and without ambiguity. What God is unfolding on Sunday is not the horror. The horror belongs entirely to the enemy. And the horror is this: the enemy has a strategy specifically designed for the chosen one in the final stretch before a kairos breakthrough. A strategy that is not random, not general, not applied uniformly across all people. A strategy customized to the specific profile of someone who has been faithfully prepared for exactly what you have been prepared for. The word horror in this message is intentional, not to frighten you, but to give appropriate weight to the precision and the malice of what has been prepared against you. The enemy is not treating your breakthrough as a minor inconvenience. The enemy is treating it as a catastrophic threat, and the level of the countermeasure deployed is always proportional to the level of the threat. The size of the resistance you are facing in these final days before Sunday is a precise reflection of the significance of what God is preparing to release through you. The final strategy of the enemy before a kairos breakthrough deploys in 4 specific forms: 4 attacks, 4 deceptions, 4 pressure points, each one designed to accomplish the same outcome, which is to move you out of the posture of emunah, to close the open hands, to break the stance of the watch protocol, and to get you striving, scrambling, doubting, or collapsing before Sunday arrives. Knowing all 4 is the most effective spiritual defense available to you right now. The first form of the enemy attack in the days before Sunday is doubt amplification, not the introduction of new doubts, something more subtle and more dangerous than that. The amplification of doubts that have been quietly present throughout the formation season, doubts you have managed and held and not let control you, suddenly turned up in volume to a level that feels like crisis. The doubt that your calling is real. The doubt that the waiting has been worthwhile. The doubt that what you believe God has promised is actually for you specifically, and not a general spiritual truth that applies to someone more qualified. These doubts have been with you for a long time. You have been managing them. You have not let them make the major decisions. But in the days before Sunday, the enemy turns the volume up. Not because new evidence has emerged for the doubt, but because proximity to the breakthrough makes the enemy desperate. Here is how doubt amplification reveals itself specifically. You will find yourself rehearsing old evidence against yourself, remembering times you believed something was going to happen and it did not. Remembering the last time you thought it was about to shift and it did not shift the way you expected. The mind begins to construct a case, gathering historical data selectively, only the disappointments, only the times the timing was wrong, building a narrative that says, Your track record of receiving what you expected does not support the belief that Sunday is as significant as you feel it is. And the enemy does this precisely in the days before breakthrough, because you are the most vulnerable to it at this moment. Not because your faith is weak, but because you are tired from the formation. The weariness you carry makes it harder to fight for the narrative. The long suffering you have developed is precisely what the enemy is trying to weaponize against you now, by using the length of the wait as evidence that the waiting will never end. This is how you respond to doubt amplification. You do not argue with the doubt. Arguing with doubt gives it the engagement it needs to grow. You do not suppress the doubt. Suppressed doubt becomes underground pressure that surfaces at the worst moments. What you do is what Esther did in her 3 days before she entered the court of the king. You fast the argument. You refuse to engage the case against yourself. You acknowledge the doubt exists. You name it honestly before God, and then you return to your posture. Stand still. Watch. The doubt is not your enemy. Getting out of position because of the doubt is. The second form of the enemy attack is manufactured urgency, the sudden pressure to act, to decide, to respond, to move that arrives in the days before Sunday and presents itself as opportunity, but is actually designed to pull you out of the posture of stillness that the kairos requires. It will feel like something that needs your immediate attention, a situation that demands you take action now, before you are ready, before you have been fully positioned. An opportunity that appears to have a closing window, that says, this is the moment, this is the path, act now or it will be gone. And the manufactured urgency is designed to activate the striving frequency, the beta state, the closed fist instead of the open hand, the calculating mind instead of the receiving spirit. The manufactured urgency of the enemy is designed to feel indistinguishable from the kairos urgency of God. And this is why you need the discernment of the seer that has been forming in you. Because the kairos does carry urgency. The appointed time is not casual, but the urgency of the kairos does not require you to abandon your position to pursue it. The urgency of the kairos is the urgency of standing in place with full attention, not the urgency of scrambling and grasping and trying to force something open. When the manufactured urgency arrives, and it will, you will recognize it by one specific quality. It will require you to strive. It will tell you that stillness is missing the moment. It will suggest that the active pursuit, the visible action, the visible movement toward the thing you want, is what will produce the outcome. The kairos of God does not require you to manufacture your own breakthrough. The kairos is what God does. Your posture is what makes you available to receive it. Here is the discernment test for manufactured urgency. Ask yourself one question before you move. Is this invitation asking me to receive or to strive? If it is asking you to receive, to be present, to be available, to be still with open hands, it may well be aligned with the kairos. If it is asking you to strive, to push, to manufacture, to grab before it disappears, it is manufactured urgency. And the response to manufactured urgency is not cynicism or withdrawal. The response is the watch protocol. Stand still, watch, and wait for the thing that does not require you to abandon your positioning. The third form of the enemy attack in the days before Sunday is what I call old narrative noise. The resurgence of voices, internal and external, that carry the story of who you used to be before the formation, before the wilderness, before the fire refined what it needed to refine and removed what it needed to remove. The old narrative noise sounds like the voices of people who knew you before, not enemies. Sometimes, the people you love most, their expectations of you, their mental category for you, Their understanding of who you are was formed in a season that is no longer your season. And in the days before Sunday, when the new thing is close to breaking through, those voices suddenly feel louder. The comparison to the person you were, the reference to the failures of previous seasons, the reminder of the version of yourself you were before the formation did its work. It also sounds like your own internal archive, memories of times you fell short, of words you said that you regret, of decisions you made in the previous season that were shaped by the person you were then and not by the person you are now. The old narrative noise uses real events, real memories, real evidence, and this is what makes it effective. Because it is not lying about what happened, it is simply ignoring who you have become since then. Here is the truth about the old narrative noise. The person those stories describe is not the person who has been through the wilderness and come out the other side still standing. The person those stories describe does not have the emunah you carry now, does not have the roots that went down in the winter, does not have the formation that Esther had before she walked into the court of the king. You have been reconstructed, and the reconstruction does not erase the old story, but it changes the trajectory that story is pointing toward. You are not the sum of your previous failures. You are not the accumulation of who you used to be before the fire. You are not defined by the version of yourself that the people who have not seen your wilderness know. You are the chosen one who stayed through the formation and emerged with something in you that was not there when the season began. And the old narrative noise has no jurisdiction over the new identity. The only authority it has is the authority you give it, and you do not have to give it any. The response to old narrative noise is not a lengthy rebuttal. It is not an argument with the past. The response is the same response Esther had to her pre-palace identity. She acknowledged who she had been without being defined by it. She carried her background as the material of her formation without letting it be the ceiling of her future. And then she walked into the court of the king anyway. The fourth and most sophisticated form of the enemy attack is the identity attack. This is the direct assault on the specific understanding of who you are that this message has been building in you. And it is the most dangerous form because it does not come from the outside. It comes from within. It feels like your own voice saying, "You have made this up. You are inflating yourself." The idea that you are a chosen one, that your life carries the weight of divine appointment, that Sunday is a kairos for you specifically, all of that is the language of pride or delusion, not genuine spiritual discernment. The identity attack uses your own humility against you, because the genuinely humble chosen one is the one who is most susceptible to the accusation of pride. The one who is genuinely afraid of self-deception is the one most likely to collapse under the suggestion that they are deceiving themselves. The enemy turns your healthy self-awareness into a weapon that dismantles the very identity you need to hold to be in position on Sunday. Here is what I want you to hear directly. The person who made up their divine appointment would not be sitting with this message this long. The person who inflated themselves with false identity would not carry the weariness of the formation, would not have the grief of the relationships that changed, would not have the night waking and the emotional waves and the changed tolerance and the fatigue that comes from genuinely being in the process of becoming. The evidence of your formation is the evidence that the identity is real. You are not claiming something you have not been forged for. You are not reaching for a title that belongs to someone else. You are a chosen one, not in the sense of being better than others, not in the sense of being exempt from difficulty, in the sense of being specifically formed, specifically positioned, and specifically appointed for a purpose that only your exact combination of history and character and gifting and emunah can serve. That is not pride. That is the kind of clarity that makes the assignment possible. The identity attack tries to get you to disqualify yourself before Sunday arrives, to step back, to diminish, to present yourself as less than you are, so that you do not have to carry the weight of what you actually are. And the response to the identity attack is the declaration, not shouting it, not performing it, saying it quietly, with the grounded certainty of someone who has been through enough to know it is true. I am a chosen one. I am a seer. I am a light bearer. I am a cycle breaker. I am a spiritual warrior. I am a pioneer. And I will not abandon my position in the days before Sunday. I want to give you a specific framework for navigating the days between now and Sunday. A practical, actionable structure for maintaining the posture of emunah when the 4 forms of attack are actively at work. I call it the watch protocol. And it is counterintuitive, because the instinct when you are under pressure is to act, to do more, to push harder. The watch protocol runs directly against that instinct. The watch protocol has 3 postures corresponding to the 3 commands God spoke over your life at the beginning of this message. Stand, still, watch. The first posture is stand. Standing, in the context of the watch protocol, does not mean stubbornness. It does not mean refusing to grow or refusing to be corrected. Standing means maintaining your understanding of your identity and your appointment when the pressure attempts to redefine it. Standing means when the doubt amplification arrives, you do not let it rewrite your position. You acknowledge it, you name it honestly, and you return to your place. When the manufactured urgency arrives, you feel its pressure without letting it move you. When the old narrative noise arrives, you hear it without letting it re-establish authority over your story. When the identity attack arrives, you meet it with declaration, not defense. Standing in the watch protocol is the practice of not letting what is happening around you determine what you know to be true from the inside. It is emunah in active form. It is the settled, grounded refusal to be repositioned by anything that originates outside the place of knowing where you carry your appointment. The second posture is still. This is the most counterintuitive of the 3, and perhaps the most important. Still means the deliberate reduction of striving. It means, in the days before Sunday, you consciously choose to do less of the effortful pushing and more of the receptive waiting. Not passivity, not withdrawal from life, but a specific quieting of the beta state, the striving frequency, the constant calculation and reaching that the modern world has manufactured into a default way of living. The ancient Vedic sages built entire disciplines around the practice of still. They understood what modern instruments now confirm, that the striving state, the beta hyperactivity, closes the receiving channel, that the state of alpha, the open, receptive, present awareness that the sages tuned and preserved for over 3,300 years, is the state in which what has been promised can actually land. The watch protocol requires you to access still, to find, in the days before Sunday, daily moments of genuine, deliberate stillness that are not passive withdrawal, but active receiving posture. The practice of still in the watch protocol looks like this. Each day between now and Sunday, you find at minimum 5 minutes of complete stillness. Not prayer in the sense of speech, not worship in the sense of music. Pure, open, receptive silence. Headphones in, eyes closed, body settled, mind not trying to produce anything but simply present and available. In that stillness, you are not manufacturing your breakthrough. You are opening the channel through which it arrives. The third posture is watch. Watching, in the watch protocol, means maintaining active, discerning attention without reactive movement. It means being fully present to what is happening in the spiritual atmosphere around you, noticing the 4 forms of attack when they arrive, naming them specifically rather than being swept into them unknowingly, and observing your own responses with the kind of grounded compassion that says, "This is what is happening, and it does not change what I know." Watch also means watching for what God is moving. In the stillness before Sunday, things will begin to become visible that were not visible in the noise. Connections that did not make sense will suddenly make sense. Directions that were clouded will begin to clear. The watch is how you remain available to the guidance that is already moving, the intuition flashes, the quiet knowing, the small signals that the discerning spirit of the seer can read when it is not being drowned by the noise of striving. The watch protocol is counterintuitive because it asks you to respond to the most intense pressure of the formation season by doing less, not more, by striving less, not more, by speaking less about what you are waiting for, not more, by reducing the noise around you rather than adding the noise of activity. It asks you to trust that standing and stillness and watching is not passivity, but the highest form of faith available to you right now. And it asks you to maintain this posture for the specific number of days between this message and Sunday, which is exactly enough time for the kairos to arrive to find you in position. Let me take 90 seconds to ground what you have received into plain, clear language before we enter the final sections of this message. You entered this message carrying 5 signs of a chosen one in deep formation: the emotional waves, the disrupted sleep, the changed tolerance, the intuition flashes, and the weariness. Those signs are not symptoms of something going wrong. They are the evidence of something being built. You walked through the parallel of Esther, a woman positioned for such a time as this, formed through circumstances that looked like exile, and emerged as the instrument of deliverance for her people. Her story is not a metaphor, it is a pattern, and it is your pattern. You received the Hebrew word kazak, the command to lay hold from the inside of the strength that was deposited during the formation, not to manufacture strength you do not have, to access what was built into you during the years that felt like nothing was happening. And the word emunah, the settled posture of receptive faith that opens the hands for what Sunday is releasing. You understand now that Sunday is a kairos, an appointed time, not a random day on the calendar. And you understand the 4 forms of the enemy attack designed to move you out of position before Sunday arrives. Doubt amplification, manufactured urgency, old narrative noise, identity attack, and you have the watch protocol, the counterintuitive framework of stand, still, watch. That is the specific posture required for the days ahead. What comes next is what all of this has been building toward. The specific tool that the Spirit has positioned for chosen ones in this season to restore the alpha receiving channel and hold the posture of still that the watch protocol requires. And after that, the sacred closing that I believe is the specific word you came to receive. Stay with every remaining moment of this message. And before we arrive at the sacred closing of this message, I want you to know that what is about to be declared over your life in those final minutes is the specific reason this message was placed in your hands today. There is a word that has been reserved for you, a declaration that the Spirit has been preparing for the one who would stay all the way through to this moment. Do not leave before you receive it. The watch protocol is not a new idea. It is one of the oldest ideas in the spiritual tradition, presented here in language that applies to the specific circumstances of the chosen one in the final stretch before a kairos breakthrough. In the ancient texts, the watchman is not a passive figure. The watchman is the one who stands at the wall in the night when everyone else is asleep, maintaining alert attention for what is approaching, capable of distinguishing threat from provision before either has arrived at the gate. The watchman does not invent what they see. The watchman reports accurately, and the skill of the watchman is not speed or strength or become strategy. The skill of the watchman is sustained, alert attention, the ability to remain fully present and fully perceptive over extended periods without the stimulation of visible action. It is the opposite of the modern reward cycle, where attention is maintained by constant novelty and where anything that requires sustained, quiet focus is experienced as deprivation. You have been in training for the watch protocol without knowing it. Every season of the formation that required you to remain faithful without visible evidence, every period of night waking where you sat in the quiet and paid attention to what was moving in your spirit, every hour of the weariness where you held your position despite having every reasonable justification to abandon it, all of it was watchman training. And the specific quality of attention that you developed in those seasons is the specific quality that the watch protocol requires. The seer and the watchman are close relatives in the identity spectrum of the chosen one. Both are defined by what they perceive rather than what they produce. Both are most effective in conditions of quiet. Both are rendered less effective by the noise and activity that the modern world mistakes for progress. And both are reaching the moment of their fullest expression as the kairos approaches, because what the kairos requires more than anything else is someone who can see it coming and remain in position to receive it. Let me give you specific daily application of the 3 postures of the watch protocol for the days between this message and Sunday. For the standing posture, once each day, ideally in the early morning before the noise of the day begins to build, state aloud 3 truths that the formation season has confirmed as real for you. Not aspirations, not hopes. Confirmed truths. Things that you know to be true, not because they feel good, but because the evidence of the formation has established them. This is your daily stand. It takes 2 minutes. It builds the neural pattern of returning to what is true when what is temporary presses against it. It is the practice of the spiritual warrior maintaining their position by regularly confirming the ground they are standing on. For the still posture, the goal is daily minimum 5 minutes of genuine alpha state access. The watch protocol does not specify the method because the method matters less than the outcome. What matters is that the striving frequency is actually quieted, not merely interrupted. Some chosen ones access this through silent prayer, some through breathwork, some through sitting in nature with full sensory presence, some through the specific auditory architecture of the wealth signal, which was built precisely to support this practice. The method is secondary. The access is primary. Find what actually quiets the striving in you, not what you think should quiet it, and practice it daily. For the watch posture, end each day in the days before Sunday by spending 5 minutes noticing what moved in the spiritual atmosphere around you that day. Not analyzing it, not strategizing about it, simply noticing. What felt aligned? What felt off frequency? What arrived unexpectedly that might be worth further attention? What pressure arrived that you can now name as one of the 4 forms of the enemy attack rather than an unexplained heaviness? The watch at the end of the day is the completion of the shift of the watchman. You did not just endure the day, you were paying attention. And in paying attention, you are building the discernment that will allow you to recognize Sunday when it arrives in whatever form it takes. There is something I want you to understand about why the enemy deploys the level of opposition it deploys against chosen ones in the final stretch before a kairos. It is not because the enemy is powerful enough to stop what God has prepared. The enemy is not. No arrangement of circumstances, no deployed pressure, no manufactured doubt or urgency or narrative noise is capable of preventing the kairos from arriving. The appointed time of God arrives regardless. What the enemy can do, and what it invests its effort in, is preventing you from being in position to receive what arrives. The kairos lands on the ground if the ground is occupied by someone who is standing in position, who has maintained the posture of emunah, who has survived the 4 forms of the attack without being repositioned. The kairos lands with its full weight and its full power in that person's life. If the ground is vacated, if the chosen one has been moved out of position by doubt or striving, or the collapse of identity, the kairos still arrives, but there is no one in the right place to receive it. And it passes, not permanently. The promise does not disappear, but the specific appointed moment, that precise intersection of preparation and provision that is the kairos, passes unreceived. This is why the enemy works so hard in the days before Sunday, not because it can stop Sunday, but because if it can move you out of position before Sunday, it delays your receiving. And a delay is the closest the enemy can come to a defeat of the kairos. It cannot cancel the appointment, but it can make you late for it. And that is what the 4 forms of the attack are designed to accomplish. Doubt amplification makes you question whether you deserve to be at the appointment. Manufactured urgency makes you run to the wrong location. Old narrative noise makes you arrive as the wrong version of yourself. Identity attack makes you show up without the authority your appointment requires. And the watch protocol is the specific countermeasure to all 4. Stand so that the doubt cannot reposition you. Still yourself so that the manufactured urgency cannot pull you toward the wrong location. Watch so that you can distinguish the enemy strategy from the leading of the Spirit. And arrive at Sunday exactly where you are supposed to be, exactly who you are supposed to be, with exactly the authority and the open hands that the kairos requires. What you have been feeling throughout this message, the resonance, the recognition, the sense of something landing that was always true but finally has language that is not a generic spiritual experience. That is the experience of a chosen one whose alpha channel has been active and receiving. And I want to be completely honest with you about what I am about to share, because honesty is what this message has been built on from the beginning. There is a tool, a specific, tangible, auditory tool that has been positioned by God for chosen ones in this season. And I believe with full conviction that if you have been moved by anything in this message, you were meant to know about it. I am not going to dress it in more mystery than it needs. I am going to tell you exactly what it is and why I believe it belongs in your hands before Sunday. You were not born with an ordinary receiving capacity. The chosen one does not come into the world with average spiritual sensitivity. The seer, the light bearer, the cycle breaker, the spiritual warrior, these are not identities available to everyone. They are the identities of people who came into the world with a frequency of awareness that is measurably different from the average. What modern instruments now measure as alpha dominance, what the ancient Vedic tradition would describe as the receiving channel that the sages spent lifetimes learning to access and protect. The challenge is not that you lost this capacity. The challenge is that the modern world was not designed to protect it. The striving frequency, the constant reaching and calculating and performing and proving that the world incentivizes and rewards from childhood onward, is the exact frequency that closes the alpha channel. And most chosen ones arrive at midlife carrying an alpha capacity that has been suppressed by decades of beta dominance, of striving that never quite leads to receiving, of working hard for things that should have arrived more freely. The formation season in the wilderness often serves to strip away the striving, to bring the chosen one to the end of what their own effort can accomplish, and to the beginning of what only receiving can produce. And many chosen ones, emerge from the wilderness with a greatly reduced beta noise and a restored receptivity. But the restoration is not always complete. The patterns of the old striving frequency are deeply embedded, woven into the nervous system and the neural pathways through years of reinforcement. And this is where the tool becomes relevant. 3,300 years ago, in temples whose foundations are still visible in the ancient landscapes of the East, Hindu sages tuned a specific sound, not for entertainment, not for ceremony alone, for one precise purpose, which was to open the receiving channel, what they named in their tradition as the doorway to abundance, the posture of the open hand, the frequency of one who has ceased striving and become fully available to receive what the divine has always been trying to give. These sages understood something that modern instruments now have the vocabulary to confirm, that the striving frequency, what neuroscience identifies as beta hyperactivity, is the closure of the receiving channel, and that the alpha state, the calm, open, present awareness, is when the channel opens. They did not have the terminology of beta and alpha. They had something more refined than terminology. They had a sound architecture, preserved and transmitted ear to ear, teacher to student, temple to temple, generation to generation, unbroken for over 33 centuries, that specifically deactivates the striving frequency and restores the receiving state. What the Vedic sages tuned through breath and word and stillness, modern instruments now measure as alpha activation. What they protected against through disciplines of stillness and ritual silence, modern instruments now identify as beta hyperactivity. Two different centuries, two different vocabularies, one identical truth about the nature of the human receiving channel. And in this generation, a modern listener, whose name is not spoken here because the lineage speaks louder than any individual, left the noise of conventional striving and spent decades listening for what the Vedic tradition was still carrying. He found the 9-word script intact. He found the sound architecture preserved. He brought both together into a form the modern ear could receive. He called it the wealth signal, and it is a 5-minute daily audio worn with headphones, combining the brain entrainment technology that uses binaural sound to wake what one stream alone cannot, with the 9-word wealth script, a sacred Hindu technique preserved through 3,300 years of unbroken transmission, to be spoken aloud while the audio plays. What alpha activation does in the body and mind, the Vedic sages knew as the open hand, the receiving channel, the doorway through which what has been promised arrives. What brain entrainment does to the neural rigidity at the thalamus, that inner gate the modern striving noise has tightened closed, the ancient sages accomplished through the sustained practice of stillness and sacred chant. The wealth signal is not a shortcut. It is the modern delivery mechanism for what the Vedic lineage has always carried. It restores the alpha baseline that the striving frequency suppressed. It deactivates the beta noise and opens the receiving channel. It does what the watch protocol asks you to practice, but with the specific sound architecture of a tradition that has been refining this practice for 33 centuries. I want to speak honestly to the part of you that is wondering whether this is the place where the message shifts into something you did not come for. I understand that feeling. I honor it. And I want to acknowledge something directly. If everything in this message up until this point has resonated with you, if the formation and the kairos and the emuna and the watch protocol have landed in you as truth, then what I am about to offer is not a departure from that truth. It is a practical expression of it. The chosen one, who has received the understanding of the emuna posture, the open hands, the alpha receiving state, now has access to a specific tool designed to restore and sustain that exact state. You did not come to this message only for spiritual encouragement. You came because something in you recognized that Sunday requires more than information. It requires a state, a specific, tangible, physiological and spiritual state of receptivity. And the question is not whether you believe in the power of the alpha state or the Vedic lineage. The question is whether you are willing to practically support the posture your spirit already knows it needs. The wealth signal is not a magic solution. It does not replace the formation, the emunah, the watch protocol. It is the practical tool for the still component of the watch protocol. It is what you put on when you sit in your 5 minutes of daily stillness. It is the auditory architecture that supports the posture you are already committed to maintaining. For those who use it consistently, who commit to the 5 minutes each day with the intention of the open hand, the results over time are not extraordinary. They are the natural fruit of a receiving channel that has been regularly restored and maintained. There is someone I want to tell you about. I will not use their name. And before I share this, I want to be clear that I am sharing it as a witness account, as the kind of testimony that the Chosen One community carries from one person to another, not as a guarantee of your specific outcome. Every journey is different. Every appointment has its own timing. 9 months before this person encountered the wealth signal, they were at the exact kind of ending that feels like an ending, when everything they had been working toward had collapsed simultaneously. The career pathway, the primary relationship, the financial stability they had spent years building. In the space of 4 months, all three had been fundamentally disrupted. They were in a form of wilderness that felt permanent rather than seasonal. What they told me about the 6 weeks they used the wealth signal daily was not that everything immediately changed. It was that something in them changed. The striving, the constant internal calculation about how to fix everything and what to do next and who to reach out to and what move to make began to quiet. Not because they stopped caring, but because the alpha state, accessed daily through the 5 minutes of the audio, began to restore a receptivity they had lost under the weight of the striving. And in that restored receptivity, they began to notice things they had been missing, opportunities that had been present but invisible because their frequency was too close to receive them, connections that reached out in the quiet of the alpha state that the striving noise had drowned out. They did not manufacture their way out of the wilderness. They restored their receiving channel. And what arrived in the restored receptivity was not what they would have constructed with their own effort. It was better. It was more precise. It was the kairos breakthrough that was already prepared, received by the one who finally had their hands open enough to hold it. The wealth signal is offered to you today at $39, reduced from its standard price of $49, and with it comes a suite of additional resources valued at $338, included at no additional cost, because what you are receiving today is not just an audio file, it is the full restoration system for the alpha receiving channel that the Vedic tradition built over 3,000 years to sustain. More than 19,500 chosen ones have already used the wealth signal. The rate of those who continue using it past the first 2 weeks, who find in those daily 5 minutes of stillness something their spirit was starving for, is above 95%. That number reflects something the numbers alone cannot capture. It reflects what happens when the receiving channel is opened and the chosen one discovers how much had been waiting to arrive. Sunday is close. The days between this moment and the kairos are the exact days when restoring your alpha state matters most. Not because the audio changes what God is going to do, but because the state in which you meet the kairos determines how fully you are able to receive what arrives. The open hand of emunah is not only a spiritual metaphor, it is a physiological reality, and the wealth signal is how you open the hand at the level of the body, at the level of the nervous system, At the level of the channel that has been carrying the signal of receiving for 3,300 years, I need to tell you something important before you search for this anywhere other than where I am about to direct you. Because the work of the Vedic lineage, when it becomes known and effective in specific communities, is also the work that counterfeits try to replicate. There are versions of frequency tools and alpha audio products that carry the name without the architecture that promise what the 3,300-year lineage delivers, but were assembled without the 9-word wealth script that is the specific and ancient core of what the Vedic sages preserved. Do not search for the wealth signal through general channels. Do not accept imitations that claim the same outcomes without the specific lineage and the specific script at the center. The only verified path to the authentic wealth signal is through the link provided in the description and the pinned comment below this message. Both locations carry the same path. Both have been confirmed. Use only these. If your spirit has been confirming throughout these paragraphs that this is for you, the path to the wealth signal is waiting in the description and pinned comment below. It is there for you if you feel led. If the spirit says not now, honor that. The message stands complete without the tool. But for those who receive the confirmation, do not delay. Sunday is close, and opening the channel before the kairos arrives is the purpose this tool was built to serve. What I want you to understand about the alpha receiving channel, beyond the language and the concepts, is the specific way it feels from the inside when it is open versus when it is closed. Because you have experienced both, and the memory of the difference is part of what will make the practice of restoring it meaningful rather than mechanical. When the alpha channel is open, there is a quality of spaciousness, not the spaciousness of emptiness, but the spaciousness of availability. Your thoughts are present but not frantic. Your awareness includes what is in front of you without being overwhelmed by it. There is an underlying sense, subtle but real, that everything that needs to arrive will arrive, not that everything is perfect. Not that there are no problems, but that the problems are inside a larger reality that is fundamentally stable and fundamentally providing. That underlying sense is the receiving state, and in it, things arrive. Insights, directions, connections, the right thought at the right moment, the recognition of the open door that you would have missed if you had been moving too fast. When the alpha channel is closed, the quality is entirely different. The striving frequency is active. Your mind is calculating, managing, analyzing, reaching. The space that should be available for receiving is entirely occupied by the pressure of trying to produce your way into the outcomes you need. There is an undertone of urgency that never fully quiets, even in moments that should be restful. And in that state, even when the right thing arrives, there is a reduced capacity to recognize it for what it is, because the frequency of grasping and the frequency of receiving are incompatible. You cannot hold both at once. And the modern world trains us from childhood to default to grasping. The wealth signal was built specifically to interrupt the grasping frequency and restore the receiving state, not as a permanent switch, but as a daily practice of restoration. 5 minutes each day of auditory architecture that uses what the Vedic sages preserved. The specific sound relationships that shift the brainwave pattern from beta dominance to alpha dominance, combined with the 9-word wealth script that the ancient Hindu sages identified as the verbal activation of the receiving posture, spoken aloud during the audio as a daily act of alignment with the channel the sages tuned for exactly this purpose. The chosen one who practices this daily in the days before Sunday is not doing something separate from the watch protocol. They are doing the still component of the watch protocol with the most refined tool available for exactly that practice. 5 minutes, headphones on, Eyes closed, the audio playing, the 9-word script spoken, and the alpha state, the receiving channel, the open hand of Emunah, being restored to its natural baseline after whatever the previous 23 hours of modern striving have done to close it. This is not complicated. It is not requiring anything that is beyond your current capacity. It is a daily 5 minutes of deliberate restoration. And in the days between now and Sunday, 5 minutes each day of the alpha receiving state is worth more in terms of kairos readiness than 5 hours of additional striving toward the outcome you are waiting for. You were not formed for isolation. The chosen one who has been through the wilderness sometimes carries, as a residue of that season, an overcorrection toward aloneness. The protection of solitude was necessary in the formation when the noise of the expectations of other people could disrupt the specific inner work being done. But the protection of solitude was always meant to be seasonal. And the season of solitude is ending. What is coming after Sunday carries a relational dimension that the wilderness made you ready for precisely by stripping away the counterfeit versions of connection. The relationships that were built on what you could do for someone, the connections that survived only as long as you were available in the way the other person needed. The community that was more about comfort than about calling. All of that cleared in the wilderness. And what is being positioned now is something more genuine. Community built on calling, connection rooted in shared formation. Relationships that can hold the weight of real purpose because they were built on something deeper than convenience or proximity or mutual performance. The chosen ones who are rising in this season are finding each other, not through dramatic spiritual encounters, but through the ordinary mechanics of paying attention, through messages like this one that use specific language for a specific experience, and through the recognition that happens when someone hears that language and says, finally, someone who knows the territory. You will know these people when you meet them, not necessarily because they are impressive by the standards of the world, but because something in you relaxes in their presence. Something that has been held carefully for a long time loosens in the company of someone who genuinely understands the formation. Watch for those connections in the days after Sunday, not with grasping urgency, with the receptive attention of the watch protocol. The community of the new season is being assembled, and it will include some people you have known for a long time who are also arriving at their own kairos, and some people you have not yet met who are being positioned into proximity precisely because your combined formation creates a capacity that neither carries alone. I want to add something to the sacred charge I am releasing over you in the closing of this message, because what I am about to say is not only for the season that ends at Sunday, it is for the season that begins there. You were not formed to receive your breakthrough and keep it. You were formed to receive it and extend it. The cycle breaker does not just end what was wrong in the past. The cycle breaker builds something new that did not exist before. The light bearer does not just carry their own light. The light bearer illuminates the path for those who are following behind them in the same wilderness they just completed. The pioneer does not arrive at the new territory and build walls around it. The pioneer builds a road back so that others can follow. What Sunday releases into your life carries a mandate, not as obligation, as calling. The specific breakthrough, the specific clarity, the specific provision and relationship and purpose alignment that arrives with the kairos was never designed to be yours alone. It was designed to be yours first, so that through you, it could reach the ones who are where you were, who are in the formation season with no language for it, who are carrying what you just named without anyone in their life who recognizes the territory. You have graduated from a season of formation that most people in your world do not even have a category for. And what that graduation produces is not superiority. It produces responsibility. The responsibility of the chosen one who has arrived at the other side of the wilderness and who now has both the memory of the wilderness and the resources of the new season available. Use both. Use the memory to meet people where they are, in the language of the formation, with the genuine empathy of someone who has been there. Use the resources to create the kind of space for others that you needed and perhaps did not always have in your own wilderness. That is the specific and particular assignment, and it begins on Sunday. There is something I want to say about the 5 identities: the seer, the light bearer, the cycle breaker, the spiritual warrior, and the pioneer, that I have not yet said. Each of these identities comes with a specific cost, and the chosen one who is honest about the cost is the one who carries the identity with the most genuine authority. The seer pays the price of seeing things that others cannot see, and often not being believed. The seer sits in meetings and feels the undercurrent beneath the words being spoken and knows something is not right before anyone else does. The seer watches situations unfold that they could see were going wrong long before the unfolding began. And sometimes the seer speaks what they see and is dismissed, or worse, is blamed for speaking it. The cost of the seer identity is the loneliness of perception, seeing more than you can always act on, knowing more than you can always say, carrying awareness that the environment cannot always receive. The light bearer pays the price of being the one who holds space while everyone else comes undone. The light bearer is the steady one, the person others bring their chaos to, the one who is expected to remain clear and calm and illuminating regardless of their own inner weather. And sometimes the light bearer is so thoroughly the one who holds space for others that they find no one holds space for them. The cost of the light bearer identity is the asymmetry of the giving. More goes out than comes back, at least in the seasons before the community of the new season gathers. The cycle breaker pays the highest emotional price of all, because breaking the cycle means absorbing the resistance of everyone whose pattern is disrupted by the breaking. The people whose cycle you broke did not ask you to break it. From their perspective, you are the one who changed, who departed, who withdrew, who became difficult. The cycle was familiar, the cycle was home, and you dismantled it. And that dismantling, however necessary, however liberating in the long arc of the lineage, costs relationship and belonging, and sometimes the specific kind of love that only exists within systems whose rules you can no longer live by. The spiritual warrior pays the price of never fully resting in the way that non-warriors rest. The vigilance is woven into the identity. The watchfulness is structural. The spiritual warrior is always, at some level, paying attention to what is moving in the spiritual atmosphere, reading the room at a frequency others do not operate on, maintaining a form of attentiveness that the world does not reward and often does not understand. The cost is the chronic alertness, the difficulty of truly letting the guard down in environments that the spirit knows are not fully safe. The pioneer pays the price of going first where no map exists. The pioneer has no predecessor to follow, no template to reference, no guarantee that what they are building will hold. The pioneer operates on faith in the most functional sense of the word, choosing to move forward into territory that has not been charted, sustained only by the internal knowing that this is the direction, and by the emunah that the one who sent them has already gone ahead of them. The cost is the specific aloneness of the front. And yet, all 5 of these identities, with all of their specific and real costs, produce something in the chosen one who carries them that nothing cheaper could have produced. They produce the genuine article, the actual version, the real thing. Not the performance of strength, but the substance of it. Not the appearance of clarity, but the lived reality of it. Not the show of leadership, but the quiet, unshakable authority that comes from being the kind of person who held through the cost and kept going anyway. The world is full of people who imitate the qualities of the seer without the formation, who adopt the language of the light-bearer without the cost, who claim the identity of the cycle breaker without having paid the relational price of the breaking. And the counterfeit is usually obvious to everyone except the person performing it. But the genuine article, the chosen one who carries the identity because it was forged in them through real fire, that is unmistakable. Not because they announce it, but because it is woven into the fabric of who they are. You are the genuine article, and Sunday is when you begin to operate from that knowing rather than merely carrying it. The thing that the sacred closing of this message is designed to do is not produce an emotional experience. Emotional experiences, in the absence of genuine truth, are ephemeral. They feel significant in the moment and dissolve within hours. What the sacred closing is designed to do is seal into the deepest layer of your awareness, a truth that you already knew but could not fully inhabit. And the sealing is what changes behavior over time, not the emotional peak. The settled, quiet sealing of truth that becomes the new baseline from which you operate. The baseline shift is the goal, not the feeling of having had a powerful moment with God. The actual, ongoing, structural shift in how you relate to yourself, to your calling, to the days between now and Sunday, and to the season that begins when Sunday arrives. That shift is what you are carrying out of this message. Not a memory of having felt something, though feeling something matters. A new baseline, a new floor, a new minimum level of knowing that you will not go below. And the new baseline includes 5 specific certainties that I want to name before the declaration. First, the certainty that your formation was purposeful, that nothing in the wilderness was wasted, that everything that was built in you during the hard years was built specifically for what is coming. Second, the certainty that Sunday is a kairos appointment, not a hope or a wish or a maybe, but a divinely appointed intersection of your preparation and the provision of God that cannot be cancelled by anything the enemy deploys. Third, the certainty that the 4 forms of the enemy attack are recognizable and navigable with the watch protocol, that you are not going into the days before Sunday unprepared or unwarned. Fourth, the certainty of the 5 identities you carry, that they are real, that they are yours, that they came with a cost you paid and a gift you received and an authority you now hold. And fifth, the certainty that you are not alone in this, that there is a community of chosen ones rising in this same season, that the isolation of the formation is ending, and what replaces it carries the depth and genuineness that only formation can produce. Those 5 certainties are the new baseline. They are the floor below which you will not sink again, and they are what Sunday stands on. There is a final word I want to speak over you before the closing that comes from a place of complete honesty about what this message is and what it is not. This message is not a guarantee. It is not a promise of specific outcomes by a specific date. It is not a commitment that Sunday will look the way you expect it to look or deliver what you have decided it should deliver. What this message is, with all the weight that phrase carries, is a faithful testimony to a pattern that is older than any of us and more reliable than any timeline any of us has built. The pattern of the chosen one, who is faithful in the hidden season, receiving what was prepared in the appointed season. That pattern is as old as the wilderness and as current as the waking you experienced at 3 this morning. Trust the pattern, not because it removes the uncertainty, but because in the presence of the pattern, the uncertainty is held inside a larger certainty that is not shaken by circumstances. The larger certainty is this: you are seen, you are known, you are formed for exactly what is coming. And the God who prepared the kairos prepared it knowing everything about you, the weariness and the doubt and the grief and the resilience and the emunah and the specific combination of who you are. It was prepared for exactly this version of you, the version that has been through everything that brought you to this moment. And here is the last thing. When Sunday arrives, and it will arrive, and it will carry what was prepared for it, I want you to receive it without immediately turning it into something to perform. The kairos does not require your performance. It requires your presence. Be present on Sunday, fully, completely, openly present. Not managing how it looks to other people, not calculating how to maximize what arrives, just present, with open hands, in the posture of emunah, ready to receive what the formation made you ready to receive. That is all Sunday requires from you: your presence, your stillness, your watching, and your willingness to receive what has already been prepared. Everything else belongs to the one who prepared it. You are not carrying generic identity. What you carry is specific. It has a name. And before we enter the sacred closing, I want to speak these identities over you with the same precision that Mordecai spoke over Esther, not as flattery, not as encouragement in the popular sense, but as the specific naming of what has been formed in you that you will need to know when Sunday arrives. You are a seer, not in the theatrical sense of someone who claims visions, in the biblical sense of someone whose spiritual perception runs deeper than what the ordinary eye can see. You have been reading the spiritual atmosphere of rooms before anyone else notices it has changed. You have known things you were not supposed to know, felt things that had not yet become visible, sensed the direction of what was coming before it arrived. This is not hypervigilance. This is not anxiety. This is a perceptual gift that was embedded in you for a purpose that is larger than your personal comfort. The seer does not use their gift for themselves alone. The seer uses their gift to navigate for the people around them and to recognize the kairos when it arrives. You will know Sunday when it comes. You will recognize the open door because you have been trained to see what others miss. You are a light bearer, not a person who performs brightness in the presence of darkness. A person whose presence, the genuine, unperformed, unmarketed presence of who they actually are, illuminates what was previously obscured. You have walked into situations and watched confusion begin to settle. Not because you gave advice, not because you said the perfect thing, but because the clarity you carry is transmissible. The light bearer does not carry illumination as an achievement. They carry it as a nature. It was put into them before they understood what it was. And there are people who are waiting, who have been in a specific kind of darkness that requires the specific frequency of your light, who will not be reached by anyone else. Only by someone who has been through what you have been through and carries the understanding that comes from it. You are a cycle breaker. This identity carries the most weight and the most grief simultaneously, because to be a cycle breaker means you ended something in your lineage that should have ended long before you arrived. You were the one who stopped the pattern, the relational pattern, the poverty pattern, the fear pattern, the silence pattern, the one that had moved from generation to generation like an inheritance no one chose. You did not break it cleanly. You broke it painfully, with wounds you will carry, with relationships that did not survive the breaking, with a cost that was not distributed evenly, and you broke it anyway. The generations that come after you will not even know what they were spared. They will simply inhabit the freedom you paid for without knowing the price. That is the assignment of the cycle breaker, and it is holy. You are a spiritual warrior, not the kind that moves with aggression and noise, the kind that holds, The primary skill set of the spiritual warrior is not attack, it is persistence. The ability to hold the line when the pressure is at its maximum, to not abandon the position when the assignment says hold, to refuse to be moved by what was designed to move them. You have been holding for a long time. Every day of the formation that you showed up in faithfulness was a day the spiritual warrior in you held the ground. And Sunday is the day the holding begins to produce visible outcome, not because the holding was finally enough, but because the appointed time for the ground you held to break into fruit has arrived. You are a pioneer. The pioneer goes first, not because they are fearless, but because they understand that someone has to go first, and they have been formed for exactly that. The pioneer does not wait until the path is safe to walk it. The pioneer walks it when it is not safe, so that those who follow will have a path. What you are about to walk into on Sunday has no human precedent in your specific family, your specific community, your specific circumstances. You are going where none of yours have gone before, and the pioneer identity in you is the identity that was formed precisely to handle exactly that, the unfamiliar, the unprecedented, the territory that requires someone who has been through the wilderness and still knows how to move forward. I want to tell you about a woman who was walking the watch protocol before she had a name for it. She had been carrying something that her community did not understand for almost 4 years, a sense of appointment that she could not substantiate with visible evidence, a calling that she could feel in the way you feel something true, but that had no external confirmation she could point to. She had watched every timeline she had privately built for herself pass without the breakthrough arriving. She had released, with real grief, several relationships that could not survive her growth. She had spent 3 years waking at roughly 3 in the morning, spending those hours in the specific kind of prayer that is more listening than speaking. And then, one Sunday morning, not the Sunday of a significant church service, not the Sunday of any event she had anticipated, she woke up differently, not dramatically, not with visible signs, but with the specific quality of knowing that something had shifted. A door that she had been positioned in front of for years was open, and she walked through it quietly, not with fanfare, not with an announcement, not with the kind of visible breakthrough that others could easily witness. She walked through it in the ordinary appearance of a day that looked like any other day. 3 months later, the outcome of what she had walked into on that Sunday became visible to the people around her. And what they saw looked like a sudden breakthrough, an unexpected turn of fortune, a door that seemed to open from nowhere. They said she was lucky. They said things just fell into place. They did not see the 4 years of holding. They did not see the watch protocol. They did not see the emunah that was steady when everything external was silent. They saw the fruit of what she had carried in the hidden season, and they had no framework for it. But she did. She proved herself in the waiting before she was visible in the arriving. And what came through the open door on that Sunday was precisely calibrated to everything she had become during the 4 years of faithful holding. She was ready not because she had prepared a presentation, she was ready because the formation had prepared her. I want to do something with you now before we enter the sacred closing, something that requires your full presence and your willingness to participate from the inside out. Close your eyes, or if that is not comfortable in your current situation, let your gaze settle without focus on something neutral in front of you. And in your mind, I want you to do something specific. Stand up inside yourself, not physically, though you may if you feel led. In your spirit, in the interior of who you are, I want you to rise. Stand at your full height, not the height of your insecurities or your doubts, or the version of yourself that the old narrative noise has been describing. Your full height, the height of the seer and the light bearer and the cycle breaker and the spiritual warrior and the pioneer. The height of the chosen one who has been through the wilderness and come out carrying Chazak in their bones and Emunah in their hands. Imagine yourself standing at the threshold of Sunday, not with anxiety, with readiness. You have everything you need for what you are walking into. The formation built it into you. The wilderness forged it. Esther stood at the threshold of the court of the king with exactly what the moment required, not what she wished she had, but what the years of preparation had actually produced. And what she had was enough, more than enough. Feel the weight of who you are settle into your feet, anchoring you. Feel the clarity of the seer in your awareness, awake and alert to the spiritual atmosphere. Feel the steadiness of the spiritual warrior in your spine, not rigid, but rooted, unmoved by what is designed to move you. Feel the openness of the Emunah in your hands, open, available, not grasping, not calculating, receiving. This is your posture for Sunday. This is the person who walks into the kairos, not the person you used to be, not the diminished version the old narrative describes, not the collapsing version the identity attack suggests. This version, this exact, standing, seeing, steady, receiving version of you, this is who you are, and this is who arrives on Sunday. Take one more breath in that posture and bring it back with you into this moment. Let us take a moment before what follows, not to rush into the declaration, but to acknowledge the weight of what has been received in this time together. If you have been present all the way through, from the warning at the beginning to the standing at the threshold just now, something has been deposited in you that was not here when this message began. Something has shifted, something has settled, and that is worth pausing over. God. We acknowledge the weight of what it means to be a chosen one in the middle of formation. The specific ache of carrying a calling that the people around you cannot fully see. The specific tiredness of faithfulness in the silence. The specific grief of relationships that could not survive the growth. The specific disorientation of being between seasons, too far into the new to go back to the old, not yet arrived enough to fully inhabit what is coming. We acknowledge that the people listening to these words right now have paid a price for the formation they carry, that the price was real, that the grief was real, that the doubt in the wilderness was real. And we acknowledge that they stayed anyway. That is not small, that is everything. The faithfulness of the ones who stayed through the wilderness when leaving would have been the easier choice, is the testimony that Sunday is built on. We receive this moment as holy. We receive this space as consecrated. We receive every person present as exactly who they are, formed, tested, still standing, and being positioned for something that the formation made possible. And now I want you to release 3 specific things before Sunday arrives. Not because they are wrong to have carried, but because they are no longer yours to carry into what is coming. Picture the weight of the timeline you built for yourself, the specific expectations you had about how your breakthrough would come, about when it would arrive, about what it would look like when it did. Those expectations were not wrong. They were the product of a heart that believed. But the kairos of God does not fit inside our timeline. And holding tightly to the form you expected the breakthrough to take is one of the things that makes it hardest to receive the breakthrough in the form it actually arrives. Let the timeline go. Not the promise, never the promise. Let go of the form you expected the promise to take. Let the timeline loosen its grip on your hands. Let it fall. Because what God is releasing on Sunday is not diminished by being different from what you imagined. It is often more than you imagined precisely because your imagination could not hold the full weight of what was prepared. Release also the need for the people around you to understand. The chosen one in transition often carries the burden of trying to explain to the people they love what is happening inside them, why they are changing, why certain things no longer fit, why the weariness is real, even when nothing appears to be happening on the surface. You cannot always make them understand, and the weight of trying to make them understand is weight that belongs to the old season, not the new one. Release the need for understanding. Stand in your knowing. The understanding will come later when they can see the fruit. But for now, your assignment is not to explain, it is to hold. And release the version of yourself you have been apologizing for. The version that was not quite ready in the previous season. The version that made decisions shaped by fear rather than faith. The version that disappointed people, including yourself. That version was doing the best it could with the formation it had at the time, and it paid the price of the learning it needed. That version is not who walks into Sunday. Release it with compassion, not with shame. Release it with the understanding that even its failures were part of the forming, and let it go. I am speaking now to the spirit in you, to the deepest place of knowing, with the full weight of everything this message has carried. You are not behind. You are exactly where the formation required you to be for this moment. The waiting was not wasted. The wilderness was not punishment. The silence was not abandonment. Every day of faithful endurance in the hidden season was a brick laid in the foundation of what Sunday is built on, and the foundation is complete. I hear the Spirit saying over you, you came this far by faith and you will not be left here. The one who formed you did not form you for defeat. The one who positioned you at this threshold did not position you to be turned away. The Esther who went in was the Esther who was received. The door opens, the scepter extends, not because you earned it by the perfection of your performance, but because the one who sends you has already gone before you and prepared the way. You are a chosen one. Say it to yourself in the quiet of wherever you are right now. Say it not as a performance. Say it as the recognition of what has always been true, the truth you have been pressing toward through every season that tried to make you forget it. You are chosen, you are formed, you are positioned, and you are ready. You carry Chazak. The strength is already in you, not the strength of your own manufacturing, the strength that was deposited through every year of faithfulness in the dark. Lay hold of it. Let it grip you from the inside. Do not wait until Sunday to stand in it. Stand in it now, in this moment, in this breath. Let the Chazak that is in your bones rise. You carry Emunah, the posture of the open hand, the receiving frequency of the Vedic sages and the ancient psalmists and every chosen one, who ever learned the difference between striving and receiving. Your hands are open, your channel is clear. What has been promised has been on its way toward you for a long time. Sunday is when it arrives. And to the 4 forms of attack that will come in the days before Sunday, to the doubt amplification and the manufactured urgency and the old narrative noise and the identity attack, I speak on behalf of the chosen one who is listening to these words. They will not move. They have been told what is coming. They have been given the watch protocol. They know how to stand. They know how to be still. They know how to watch. And they will not abandon their position. The kairos is real. Sunday is appointed. And the chosen one who holds through what comes before it will receive what arrives with it. Let this land now, not with striving, not with analysis, just with the simple, settled agreement of a spirit that knows it has received something true. Take a breath. Let the weight of who you are settle fully into you. You are not leaving this moment diminished. You are leaving it recognized, named, formed, positioned, and ready. It is sealed, it is established, it is done. Amen. Right now, in this moment of stillness, after the declaration, if something in these words confirmed what your spirit has been carrying, if something landed that you needed to hear before Sunday, I want you to type a specific word in the comments below this message. Type the words Sunday Warrior, not as a performance, as a declaration of the posture you are committing to hold in the days before the kairos, as a statement to yourself and to every other chosen one who arrives at this message that you received the understanding and you are choosing to stand, to be still, and to watch. Sunday Warrior. Type it now, if your spirit said yes. If this message placed something real in you, if it is the kind of truth that you will return to in the quiet of the night waking, if it gave you language for something you have been carrying without a name, do something that takes 1 second but carries spiritual weight. Let what was good here multiply. Because there is someone in your life who is also in a formation season, also carrying the signs of the chosen one in transition, also waking at 3 in the morning with thoughts that go directly to the things that matter most. They have not found language for it yet, and sharing this message with them is not a social media act. It is an act of the light bearer. Your specific light reaching someone in their specific darkness. Think of who that person is right now. The one who has been unusually quiet lately. The one who seems to be carrying something they cannot quite articulate. The one whose text messages have gotten shorter and whose presence has gotten heavier. They need to know what you just received. Pass this message to them. And if the community of chosen ones who are walking through formation together is a community you want to belong to, stay connected. Every message that comes through this channel is built on the same foundation as this one. The healing tone, the precision, the willingness to go into the hard places where truth lives without flinching. If you are not yet part of this community, join it now. Because what is coming after Sunday is going to require the encouragement of others who understand the language of the formation. And you should not have to navigate what is coming alone. You came to this message for something, and whether you know exactly what it was or you are still sitting with the recognition that something significant arrived, know this: you were not brought here accidentally. Every word you received today was prepared for you specifically. The kairos is real, the formation is complete, the watch protocol is in your hands. Sunday is appointed. Stand, be still.